Okay, and hello. I wanted to make a video explaining the construction drawings dated May 29th, 2026 and cover some why I had to do certain things the way we had to do them to satisfy the county. When I first started reviewing there, then I looked at what plans they were looking at, and I actually couldn't find that one. That's dated October 9th of 2021, but the later one I found was November 4th. It's dated 9/7, but in any event, the drawings that the county has this preliminary and incomplete construction drawings, so that wasn't even something they could approve anyway. So, and then as you know, our project became quite a bit different. So I, first of all, I endeavored to simplify what the county was going to have to look at by putting these notations up here. Second of all, and this is for the contractors' notification or education, these dimensions are all within probably about 1/8 of an inch. I wasn't gonna get down to 1/16 for that. So I would just use these major ones and you should be okay. Secondly, we're using regular 4-inch brick veneer, and I use 10-inch walls for that sort of an arrangement with the frame on the inside. Typical cavity wall with the brick veneer. And so over here, though, we're wrapping this, so we have a change there, and that's even a little wider still, a double wide wall or a solid thicker wall as shown. Now this should get them to stop asking any questions about anything going that way at all. But inside here, I don't know how I was going to do it in 2021, as those drawings weren't even put together. And once I started putting these together, I began to understand some of the things. For one thing, we want to put 4-inch brick veneer across here as well. And here they were able to do that because the interior wall is just this 4-inch CMU running all the way up and plastered on the inside, or furred and plastered on the inside on the main floor upstairs. And that's what I'm showing here, that and that must have been what my investigation or whatever in 2021 showed, is that these walls were furred on the inside. And you're proposing adding these 4-inch walls inside using closed cell spray foam to reach their R19, which they'll want in anything that we're going to be modifying. The problem with those 4-inch walls going up, they will no longer let us do that sort of construction and let those trusses, the new trusses, bear on those 4-inch masonry walls. So when we did this down here, we have to have all of our bearing has to be on 6 or 8 inch here in this area here, has to be on 6 or 8 inch walls. And when you look at that section C through there, and you see what's happening on this floor, is that in the area of the opening where that's going to be reframed, that's 2x6 walls there, and then on this, all this interior is 4-inch walls, and drywall flushes up across here. Now go back here, this here I have you going down 4 risers, and this is a border plank here for these planks to end against. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're down at the garage. If you look at that section A4 through there, that puts that about 30 inches down. If you slope this slab this way, that puts that about 30 inches down. That makes this corner over here pretty tall, as you can see from some of the elevation views right here. So if you want to drop that another 8 inches, another course of block out here, and you can do that. And if you want to make these walls, then you would make these walls taller. These framed walls would become 8 inches taller. And I don't remember what those are. Those walls are 9 foot 7.5 as shown now, with that down 27 where it's crossing in front of the stairs. So you could drop those another 8 if you want to. If the terrain is not working out well for you with the driveway, you want to drop that an extra 8, you could. And at that point, you could either add that 8 inches onto this, where this becomes about 10 foot 1 or so. But if you want to get R49 over this new garage, if you want to, propose to insulate that, and I show this R10 at the garage foundation regardless, so in case you decide you eventually want to insulate this garage, the foundation is insulated. You can't really increase this heel height and maintain what we're trying to do outside. So that heel height is kind of minimal right now because that's how it was built, and now the energy code would like that a lot taller. So if you wanted to drop the trusses, if you wanted to drop that and get a bigger energy heel in the trusses over this region, over all this here, this room becomes, right now the room's going to finish around the same as this. It should finish the same as what's happening out here. If you want to get some more energy heel, particularly out here where it's going to be heated, and you could drop those trusses 4 inches or even 8 inches, and then this room becomes a shorter room, not as high. In fact, you could actually have this room step down one, but I don't recommend that with the bath out here. I like you just coming through. So I wanted to cover those couple things. And so what you have to do then on this foundation plan here, and I ended up showing all these joists so that he wouldn't have any further questions about it. One thing I'll cover real quick, this blocking is not required, this solid blocking is not required, and I think I made a note of that somewhere, but it does stiffen that whole floor system up, and it's just these 3 20-foot 2x10s. But over here, what has to happen, okay, because we want to bring these joists up to where these ones are, and so what we're proposing, if you look at section C4, is we're going to put a ledger on each side of these down below where the foundation is a full 8-inch foundation, so that's doable. So there you can see it right here, this 2x10 ledger. That's consistent at both the front and the back, and that is sat down below. The top of that is finishing out at the bottom of the new floor joists, and they still get a band joist, a typical band joist. And then those ledgers are fastened to that wall according to what I show here with these 1/2-inch anchors on both sides. That's what happens. But in the area of the garage door, you actually, in the area of the garage door, you have that 6-inch wall, that 5.5-inch wall, 2x6 wall above that. But the joists extend and actually sit on this mud sill that is sitting on that 2x10 ledger just at the garage door opening. And the only real custom work is on either side of that garage door. And it was actually about that point, or a couple minutes later, that I discovered what I consider a pretty good error. So I'd like to correct that. If you've already submitted them to the county, we'll just leave it alone for now, unless they ask questions later. But you should build by the way I've modified this, because for one thing, this 11 inches, that would just be an error. If I was going to do it this way, this rim joist would have been 10 3/4. similar situation here where the ledger that we were fastening to that CMU wall was pushed all the way up to the bottom of that rim joist. And to me that doesn't make sense from a number of standpoints. So I have modified that. Now, at the back, for one thing, I had that one mislabeled as a 2x12. That is a 2x10. Both at the north and the south walls are 2x10s, treated 2x10s and fastened as it showed. And it looks to me like it'll be a close call on whether that, if you build it at this elevation, whether that floor slab, you'd have to cut that or not. But now it's just going to be your typical 2x4 plate on top of a typical 2x10 ledger. And then this still uses a hanger up here because they're not going to trust that that will work. But it does provide you a good way to connect this system to the ledger. And then out here, this is what's happening at section C, which is right through the garage door opening with the 6-inch wall over. And at that point I looked at this little section here through the infill a little closer, and this is how that's finally modified, where the 1/2-inch OSB comes all the way down across this rim joist, and the rim joist sits on a 2x6 mud sill. And at section, and then at the back side, this has been changed to the 2x10 from 2x12 and made that clear. And then over here, where it's just going on either side of that garage door, then the mud sill, this is shifting a little bit. The mud sill shifts a little bit. The ledger does not, but the mud sill and this rim joist shift a little bit. That rim joist shifts roughly 1.5 inches south on either side of the garage door. And so this is a rim joist here, and this is a rim joist here. This line across the bottom is the continuous 2x10 ledger. I hope that's clear enough. Now this note here will just get changed like that to make that a little more clear. So there was just this change at the floor plan, and there were corresponding changes at C and D, elevations C and D, and that's about it. But I'll be reprinting these dated today, 6/10, and getting them over to you. That's all. Thanks very much.